Doll's Christmas Party. Welcome to Whispering Archive. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Join us for one more edition of Christmas Stories for Children. It was a week before Christmas, and the dolls in the toy shop played together all night. The biggest one was from Paris. One night she said, "We ought to have a party before Santa Claus carries us away to the little girls. I can dance and I will show you how." "I can dance myself if you pull the string," said another doll. "What shall we have for supper?" piped the little boy doll in a jersey suit. He was always thinking about eating. "Oh dear," cried the French lady, "I don't know what we shall do for supper." "I can get the supper," added a big rag doll. The other dolls had never liked her very well, but they thanked her now. She had taken lessons at a cooking school, and she knew how to make cake and candy. She gave French names to everything she made, and this made it taste better. Old Mother Hubbard was there, and she said the rag doll did not know how to cook anything. They danced in one of the great shop windows. They opened a toy piano, and a singing doll played "Comin' Through the Rye." The dolls did not find it a good tune to dance by, but the lady did not know any other, although she was the most costly doll in the shop. Then they wound up a music box and danced by that. This did very well for some tunes, but they had to walk around when it played "Hail Columbia" and wait for something else. A doll had to dance by himself, for he could do nothing but a breakdown. He would not dance at all until someone pulled a string. A toy monkey did this, but he would not stop when the dancer was tired. They had supper on one of the counters. The rag doll placed some boxes for tables. The supper was of candy, for there was nothing in the shop to eat but sugar hearts and eggs. The dolls liked candy better than anything else, and the supper was splendid. Patsy McQuirk said he could not eat candy. He wanted to know what kind of a supper it was without any potatoes. He got angry, put his hands in his pockets, and smoked his pipe. It was very uncivil for him to do so in company. The smoke made the little lady sick, and they all tried to climb into a horn of plenty to get out of the way. Mother Hubbard and the two black waiters tried to sing "I Love Little Pussy," but the tall one in a brigand hat opened his mouth wide, and the small dollies were afraid they might fall into it. The clown raised both arms in wonder, and Jack in the Box sprang up as high as me, good to look down in the fellow's throat. All the baby dolls in caps and long dresses had been put to bed. They woke up when the others were at supper and began to cry. The big doll brought them some candy, and that kept them quiet for some time. The next morning, a little girl found the toy piano open. She was sure the dolls had been playing on it. The grown-up people thought it had been left open the night before, but they do not understand dolls as well as little people do. By Viola Roseborough. Grandma's Christmas Gifts. Grandma Burns sat knitting busily in the sun one bright morning the week before Christmas. The snow lay deep, and the hard crust glistened like silver. All at once she heard little sighs of grief outside her door. When she opened it, there sat Peter and Jimmy Rice, two very poor little boys, with their faces in their hands, and they were crying. "My patience," cried Grandma, "what can be the matter with two bright little boys this Sunday morning?" "We don't have no good times," sighed little Peter. "We can't slide, we haven't any sleds," whimpered Jimmy. "Why, of course, boys can't have a good time without sleds," said Grandma cheerily. "Let us look about and see if we can't find something." And Grandma's cap border bobbed behind barrels and boxes in the shed and all along the cobwebs in a garret, but nothing could be found suitable. I do believe this would do for little Pete." And the dear old lady drew a large pressed tin pan off the top shelf in the pantry. A long, smooth butter tray was found for Jimmy. Grandma took her cap border with laughter to see them skim over the hard crust in their queer sleds, and the boys shouted and swung their hands as they flew past the window. "I do expect there were out enough," murmured Grandma, "but boys must slide. That's certain." And the pan was colored as bright as a new silver dollar, and the red paint was all gone off the wooden tray when Peter and Jimmy brought their sleds back. Grandma knitted faster than ever all that day, and her face was bright with smiles. She was planning something. She went to see Job Easter that night. He promised to make 2 small sleds for the pair of socks she was knitting. When the sleds were finished, she dyed them red and drew a yellow horse upon each one. Grandma called them horses, but no one would have suspected it. Then the night before Christmas, she drew on her great socks over her shoes to keep her from slipping, put on her hood and cloak, and dragged the little sleds over to Peter and Timmy's house. She hitched them to the door latch and went home, laughing all the way. Mama's Happy Christmas. It had seemed to the little Wendell children that they would have a very sad Christmas. Mama had been very ill, and Papa had been so anxious about Mama that he could not think of anything else. When Christmas Day came, however, Mama was so much better that she could lie on the lounge. The children all brought their stockings into her room to open them. "You children all seem as happy as if you had had your usual Christmas tree," said Mamma, as they sat around her. "Why, I never had such a happy Christmas before," said sweet little Agnes, "and it's just because you are well again." "Now I think you must all run out for the rest of the day," said the nurse, "because your mamma wants to see you all again this evening." "I wish we could get up something expressly for Mamma's amusement," said Agnes, when they had gone into the nursery. "How would you like to have some tableau in here?" asked a French governess, Miss Marcel. "Oh yes," they all cried. "It would be fun. Mamma loves tableau." So all day long they were busy arranging 5 tableaux for the evening. The tableaux were to be in the room which had folding doors opening into Mrs. Wendell's sitting room. At the proper time, Miss Marcel stepped outside the folding doors and made a pretty little speech. She said that some young ladies and a young gentleman had asked permission to show some tableaux to Mrs. Wendell, if she would like to see them. Mrs. Wendell replied that she would be charmed. Then Mademoiselle announced the tableau, opening the doors wide for each one. This is a list of the tableau. First, the Sleeping Beauty. Second, Little Red Riding Hood. Third, the Fairy Queen. Fourth, Old Mother Hubbard. Fifth, the Lord High Admiral. Miss Marcel had arranged everything so nicely, and Celeste, the French maid, helped so much with the dressing that all the pictures all went off without a single mistake. Mamma was delighted. She said she must kiss those dear young ladies, and that delightful young man who had given her such a charming surprise. So all the children came in rosy and smiling. "Why, didn't you know us?" asked the Lord Admiral. "I know this," said Mamma. "I am like Agnes. I never had such a happy Christmas before." By Miriam St. Barnard. The Christmas Carol of the Birds. Do you know, when we're having such good times at Christmas, what sweet music they have in Norway, that cold country across the sea? One day in the year, the simple peasants who live there make the birds very happy, so that they sing of their own free will a glad, joyous carol on Christmas morning. And this is why they sing on that morning more than on any other, after the birds have found shelter from the north wind on Christmas Eve, and the night is still and bright. Bright, bright with stars, or even if the storm be ever so severe, the good people bring out sheaves of corn and wheat from the storehouses. Tying them on slender poles, they raise them from every spire, barn, gatepost, and gable. Then, when the Christmas sun rises over the hills, every spire and gable bursts forth into joyous song. You can well believe that these songs of the birds make the people of Norway very happy. They echo with all their hearts their living, grateful anthem. Glory to God in the highest, on earth peace, goodwill to men. By Mrs. G. Hall.